Welcome to CyberGate Studio. In my previous videos, I've always talked about, or at least every time it came up, how much I love the Linux operating system and specifically terminal, or the command line interface, really. If you've installed your own distro of Linux, opened up terminal and then went, now what? Well, this video series is for you. This YouTube series will contain really 5 unique commands, hopefully for as long as I can keep finding those commands. But they will range from super simple things that, I'll start off with something very basic within each video and progressively get more, I guess, unique, or maybe not necessarily harder, but just not like basic functionality, if that makes sense. Since this is the first video of the series, I really should include sudo as number 1. This is a super useful command because as in most cases, by default configuration, your user that you log in with is typically some predetermined access level. So you are a user on the system as opposed to the root user. A root user just has the complete access to all commands, whereas your user has some stripped down versions. You'll typically need to sudo for things like installing software or making configuration changes. If you want to learn more about super user and root access and just user permissions and that kind of stuff, leave a comment down below mentioning that, and I can go a bit deeper into it. And really, if you want a deeper dive into any of these commands, definitely leave a comment down below and let me know which one you're interested in, and I'll make a video about it. So for this example, for sudo, which is just sudo, you can do things like installing software. So if I wanted to say, I can do sudo install, sudo apt-get, right, upgrade or update. And so what that'll do, first off, is ask for my password for my user. And so I'll put in my password real quick. And then it will update the repositories and check all that out. And then you can do upgrade later, but I'll do apt in another video. But that's an example of super user. And if you want to be, so let's clear this so you can see better. So again, I'm in Marcel. Let's go ahead and become the super user. And I already entered my password. You only have to enter your password every so often, unless you configure otherwise. But see, now I am root user, and my dogs just started barking. That's great. Now, so I am root user, and I'm in the directory home Marcel. So now I'm a root user, and I don't have to do that anymore. So I don't have to put sudo anymore. So it's everything is assumed as sudo, or it's like super user do, right? Sudo. Anyway, so the next is man. This command brings up the manual for the command that you enter. For example, if you type in man sudo, you will get the manual or man page for sudo. Just kind of really learn how to use these different commands. And this is gonna be something I want to put in this video because realistically, I intend to do high level. This video I'm a bit more verbose, but in the future videos, it'll be faster. And you can always just check the man page for more details or comment below and I will go into more detail. But this is for sudo, and there's a man page for pretty much everything. The next one is wget. It allows you to do things like, so you type wget and then you do the URL. And so in this case, we'll just do Lifehacker1 or something. And it'll actually go and like based off of the URL you give it, it will go and download whatever that is. So in this case, see it connected to the website, and then it downloaded the HTML web page. And so it's like, yeah. So there you go. And then it's in whatever directory you're currently in, so it just saves it there. So then you can reference it later. So that's great. Again, for more information, you can man wget, and ta-da, now you have all this great information on how to use it, different options, and so on and so forth. And you just type Q to quit. So the next option is called nohup, and what that's really useful for are for people that aren't necessarily using a Linux box, directly on the metal, directly so you're not using a mouse and keyboard and monitor directly attached to your computer, but rather through SSH. So when you're accessing remotely, and one of the issues you find with that is that when you are connected remotely, you basically all the commands that you run on your session is tied to your session. So if you were to run a wget, for example, and it was a very large file and it was downloading, it kind of defeats the purpose if it's tied to your SSH session, unless you really just want to leave that SSH session open. But usually if I'm going to go and offload something like that, so that I'm not downloading it to my local machine, usually that's because I want it to just go and download it and I can just come back later. So I'll close my laptop, go somewhere else, come back, check on it. So the problem is if you were to close your SSH session, it would end that download, and that's not good. So you can use nohup to be able to get around that and allow it to not be tied to your session. Let's see if nohup is here. I don't know if you have to download it. Yep, it's already installed. Okay, cool. So I don't remember if it's default in all Linux distributions. I'm sure it's not. So you may have to do a yum. So depending on which system you're on, if you're on like a Ubuntu or Debian or something with apt, you can just do like a sudo apt install nohup, or the other sudo apt get install nohup. Or if you're on like CentOS or Fedora or something, then just do yum install nohup. But anyway, so it just allows you to be kind of to run a command, and that command would just be nohup, and then you run your command. So I don't know, wget URL, whatever that URL is. Sorry about the phone going off. Okay, so gosh darn it, zip it. Okay, so that's the syntax, and then it would go in wget, and then you can close your SSH session. This is not an SSH session. This is actually, I'm not sure how Windows kind of treats this. I'm pretty sure it's kind of emulated in a way. So anyway, it's not really applicable on this machine. And the final command that we're going to talk about today is @. Yes, it's just @. And so first, it is something that needs to be installed. So if you're on, depending on which distribution you're on, it's either like sudo apt, either apt-get or just apt install or yum install sudo yum install. Anyway, so you got to install it. And then once it's installed, you can do things like running your commands at a later date. So let's say you are a Linux admin and you need to run your updates, but you can't run updates during business hours. So you need to but you have time right now. So you want to do all your setup. You can go ahead and, make sure you're all subscribed and everything's happy and you're just ready to install. All you have to do is run the update. But again, you can't do that until after. So what you can do is you can say @ and then you just say like, I don't know, 9:30 p.m., and so at 9:30 p.m. it will on the Linux, on that box's time. So whenever that box is configured for its time frame. So it'll run that command at 9 p.m. And then here's now, you're now running you kind of build a script, if you will. So you can say like, I don't know. And you can actually even specify with a date. So I could have said like at 9 p.m., at 9:30 p.m. on like Tuesday or Monday, or, it's something of that nature. So you can sit there and say, okay, echo, because it is running in bin sh. So it is running as like a shell command, echo. And then you can just be like, this is running at 9:30 p.m. Great. And then there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel all that because I don't want that to actually go through. But that's basically how you do it. So, or you can just, run your command. You could even get really complicated and create a script and then let it run that script at the specified time. But so in my head, I'm thinking this is something that is like, I need to do a task this time. Let's go ahead and run it at a in the, like to schedule that one-time task. If I wanted something that just happens regularly all the time, every single, you know, what I say, Tuesday at 9:30 p.m., I want to run, I don't know, some custom script that I've created. Well, in that case, I would use a cron, and I can talk about that later in another video. But that's just a really useful tool, and I learned, that's actually when I learned in making this video, and I really wanted to include it because I thought it was so cool that you can just kind of schedule that for later. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. There's 5 commands for the Linux CLI to get you started. I hope that whets your appetite to continue to learn more. If you did enjoy the video, please go ahead and give this video a like and comment down below on some additional commands you want to learn, or if any of these commands, these 5 commands I've went over today, are things that you want to learn in more depth and detail, in which case I'll create a dedicated video for it. And while you're down there commenting, subscribe for more content coming your way.